As a reseller, timing matters. It can make the difference on how fast an item sells and for how much it sells for. Miss market trends by even just a few weeks and you may end up stuck with the item until next season. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I typically try to upload at least 2 YouTube videos every week, and I have taken the last 2 weeks off. No, I'm not quitting YouTube. In fact, we're just getting started, so make sure you're subscribed. I took these 2 weeks off because I'm an eBay seller first and a YouTuber third. Most of my personal income comes from eBay, with local sales, including Facebook Marketplace, coming in second, and YouTube bringing up the tail end. If you're curious on how much I actually make on YouTube, go ahead and check out this video here. Something I've always struggled with is making enough time for everything in my life. From family to work to fun, it's almost always a balancing act. And I find myself at certain points in the year having to focus in harder on one area or aspect of my life over the other. In my personal life, I try to work normal hours throughout the week, and I try to fit in time for exercise in the mornings and family time in the evenings. For fun, I take a few weeks off every March and August and go and travel somewhere. I also try not to work on weekends during the winter. Now, summers are a completely different ballgame with the requirement that I work on Saturday mornings as I source the majority of my inventory from yard sales. And for work, well, I try to time things according to the market. And right now is one of the most critical times to be a reseller. We are in Q4. This is the buying time of the year for most people in the United States. We're going to see more holiday shoppers coming onto platforms like eBay to purchase items to give as gifts, but we're also just going to see people more loose with their money during this time of year and buying more items overall. Now, I've stated before that I personally don't see a huge increase or decrease when it comes to Q4 or the so-called summer slowdown. My sales are pretty consistent across the board unless I take time off. In fact, October last year was my best month last year. It wasn't November or December as some people might think. This is most likely just due to the items that I typically sell. I tend to focus on items that will sell year-round consistently. However, I do use seasonal items to give me boosts throughout certain parts of the year. And I even do see a slight increase in the Q4, so I want to take as big of advantage as I can of that time frame. And that's why I took the last 2 weeks off of YouTube and instead focused all my energy and effort on getting as many items listed and drafted as I possibly could. Like I said, I do the majority of my buying during the summer months. This is when yard sales are happening, flea markets, swap meets, and the thrift stores just seem to have better inventory and are less crowded during the summer months. And let's just say, due to all of this buying during the summer months, I'm slightly embarrassed of how big my death pile has gotten. But this was kind of the plan. I know that the summer is my buying season. It means that I go in and I buy as much as possible. Now, this doesn't mean that I ignore the fact that I actually have to list things to have them be sold. And I still continue to list. My goal this year was to have everything that I purchased throughout the summer months either listed or drafted by November 1st. This doesn't mean that throughout the summer I wasn't listing anything. In fact, I was still listing very heavily. However, listing took a backseat to sourcing. Anytime I had the opportunity to go buy more items at a better price point, I would go do that instead of continuing to list items. This trend just naturally leads to an overflow. I was naturally buying more items than I was listing every single day. And I started to categorize the items that I was bringing in. Certain items I just threw in totes and brought to my storage unit to deal with later. And some items I knew I needed to list these right away, or that these were high dollar items that I wanted to list right away. Those items got brought in and listed throughout the summer, but things like ski equipment, winter jackets, winter boots, and even Christmas decor all got put into the storage unit or put off to the side until this time of year. The best part of all of this is that it's super cheap to buy these items throughout the summer. People are selling jackets and winter boots and ski equipment for next to nothing because they don't want it anymore and there's not a huge market demand for it in the middle of summer. So if you have the space and you have the cash flow, it's a great opportunity to buy this stuff, hold on to it for a few weeks or a few months, and cash in when the buying demand comes back. Now, I personally have placed almost all of my summer inventory on a markdown sale. The reason being is I don't want to carry this into the next summer. Now, yes, shorts and summer stuff does sell throughout the winter. However, it loses a lot of its velocity during those times. And if my plan is to carry it all the way into next summer, brands and customer demands and what people actually want may change by next summer. So I would much rather get rid of it right now at a discount than carry it through a whole nother winter just to try to sell it next summer. Another thing that I like to do when I'm listing my winter items right now is I price them slightly above what the 90-day comps are showing. When you think about a 90-day comp on a winter jacket, you're looking at sales history for like July, August, September. These are not months when people were actually buying jackets and the demand was there. So therefore, they're naturally going to sell for a lower price point. So for me personally, I'm charging a little bit more than what the sold comps are showing on most of my winter items. I'm going to slowly mark it down and take offers here and there and try to get rid of it all before the season changes once again. However, since we're heading right into the busiest season with the most buyers on the platform looking for these items, I want to make sure that I'm pricing my items slightly above those 90-day comps, or even going into Terapeak or product research and seeing what they sold for this time last year. So the first thing you want to do is log on to ebay.com and go to your seller hub. Once you're on your seller hub, you're going to go to the tab that says research and drop down to product research. This is going to bring you to the correct area to start doing some product research on different items and seeing what they sell for throughout different times of the year. Now, most of us probably use some kind of similar strategy like this without even really realizing that we're doing it. We buy those winter jackets in the middle of summer and smile and think, man, this is going to fly off the shelf when the first snowfall hits. But one of the critical things to remember here is, for me, this is never my goal. My goal is to never buy so much that I have to put it in my storage unit. It's just part of that time of year. And for me, the only reason this works is because I have the space and I have the cash flow. If you don't have the cash flow, then you can't cash flow these items into the next season. And it's one of the quickest ways resellers put themselves right out of business. They continue to buy items, putting them off to the side, saying that they're going to get to them, they're going to list them later, they're going to list them when the season comes, and they run out of cash flow to go buy more, or their sales aren't strong enough to carry them through with those items sitting there tying up money. Now, like I said, my plan wasn't to put jackets in the storage unit and not list them till right now. In fact, jackets sell year round and so don't snow boots. However, what I wanted to do was focus on the items that I needed to list immediately and put the other items off to the side. This isn't some excuse to not go list the items. I'll often hear resellers say, oh, I came thrifting today. I know I shouldn't have come thrifting today because I have so much to get listed at home. This isn't about that. This is about me realizing that in my personal area, that summer yard sales are my best sourcing opportunity to buy items dirt cheap, and I want to focus all my effort during those summer months doing that and not sit at home listing jackets in July. If I had more time and I wanted to refocus my life, I could have been listing all those jackets throughout. However, I didn't want to do that. I put them off to the side, and now I'm going to sell them for a slight increase than I would have sold them for in, say, July. You never want to end up with a true death pile that's actually going to kill your business. Not only is that a death pile of unlisted inventory, but it's tied up cash, and it can really honestly kill your business, and that's why we call it a death pile. So this is my call out to all of you guys watching this video right now. It's Q4 right now, and I know some of you watching this video have some death piles or have some items that you know you should go and list. So I'm encouraging all of you, go put on your favorite podcast, go put on your favorite playlist, or even put this video on in the background, and let's go get all of those items listed before the buyers start arriving for the Q4 season.